Hi folks, this is all the fruit. Pretty much the most insane and suicidal thing person can consider as foodstuff is tobacco. After all, we all know that tobacco is one of the most toxic plants in the world. It contains nicotine, a deadly pesticide. Tobacco is one of the few plants that actually tends to kill its pests instead of deterring them. However, apart from containing nicotine, tobacco plants are actually surprisingly nutritious. Here on the island of Tenerife, there are 3 different feral tobacco species. And, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that this is Nicotiana rustica. I have observed it growing here on this exposed rock above the sea for many years. But of course I've never considered it as a foodstuff, right? Who in their right mind would do this? I mean, tobacco has basically pushed forward agriculture for thousands of years. Some archaeologists actually suggest that when the Native Americans started cultivating tobacco as a drug, not as a foodstuff, since they basically invented agriculture by cultivating tobacco, they also started cultivating squash and beans and other things around their tobacco patches. If you stay at one place and cannot go hunting, it's good to start cultivating other things. Also, tobacco was probably instrumental in creating the United States. The British settlers at Jamestown, they actually went there and cultivated nothing but tobacco out of greed, because they wanted to make a big buck or a big pound back then by selling the stuff back to the homeland. Only after 2/3 of the settlers died in the first 2 winters, the authorities commanded them to cultivate foodstuffs apart from tobacco. And although we have archaeological evidence that those Jamestown settlers, apart from Thanksgiving dinners with the Native Americans, which probably didn't happen, they ate pretty much everything, including their own children and slaves, but they did not consider the tobacco edible. Well, probably they didn't know that the tobacco leaves are actually quite nutritious. However, what will happen if you eat a tobacco leaf? As I said, tobacco is one of the most toxic plants in the world. Most probably you will not die, you will vomit. Well, vomiting is not really a good idea when you want to get sustenance from a plant, so I guess the leaves are out of question. But here we are, a fruit channel, right? So what about the tobacco fruits? Well, there are a couple interesting experiments, like little piglets were fed with the residuous cake from oil production from the tobacco seeds, and they thrived very well. There are valuable proteins which are contained in tobacco and which are in higher quality and can be assimilated better when coming from tobacco than when coming from soybeans or other traditional foodstuffs. And also a lot of people suggest that probably if you eat the seeds you won't die. Maybe you won't even have symptoms. Well, those are great odds, right folks? So here I am, sitting on an almost collapsing rock above the Tenerife coastline. Oh yeah, the rock is actually separating from the wall behind it, and considering to eat super toxic tobacco seeds. Well, also some sources say probably there's not too much toxin in the seeds. How am I gonna get at the seeds? Well, I removed the sepals. Now I just have the petals here. I removed the petals and I'm left with the fruit. I open the fruit and here I have the seeds. Folks, never ever do this. Don't eat tobacco. Tobacco is one of the most toxic plants in the world. Never ever even attempt to eat it. Kind of tasteless. Well, here as a proof that I'm actually eating those things. Tasteless, but quite a tiny amount of seeds. Maybe let's get more from this fruit here? No, it's already half empty. Well, Nicotiana rustica, the so-called farmer's tobacco or country tobacco, was used in previous centuries for tobacco production, but everything about it is a lot smaller than in Nicotiana tabacum, so even the fruit with the seeds are pretty tiny. Well, at least this one seems to be ripe. Okay, here it is, the fruit, the seeds. Actually, the juice is bitter, the seeds. A bit crunchy. The juice is a tiny bit bitter, but I don't actually taste anything about the seeds. The juice is bitter and also a bit scratchy in the back of my throat. Smelling of a greenery with a bit of a solanaceae, note, but the seeds don't get any taste out of them, probably because they are so small. I mean, from Nicotiana tabacum, they are making oil from the seeds, so the seeds should be big enough for that. Let's see, is there anywhere a fruit with ripe seeds which I can basically shake out? I'm trying and failing. Well, no, those are no seeds. This is more like dirt. Here a big one, but is it open? Not yet, but look at that. Here I'm actually getting a big bunch of seeds. Come on. Well, okay, let's try those. Nah, again, the juice is bitter. Now I got a bit more on my tongue. Not too bitter, but just in case I'm gonna spit it out. The seeds, no, I can feel them crunch between my teeth, but I cannot taste anything. Pity. So folks, please never ever try to eat tobacco. Any part of the tobacco is incredibly toxic. Even if there are a couple small websites which suggest that you might probably not die from tobacco fruit, still don't do it, because actually you might get hurt by them. I tried them so that you didn't need to. This was Nicotiana rustica, an old tobacco species which here survived in the feral state on this one single rock on the Tenerife coast. Look at how restricted the population is, just on a couple square meters. I guess it's quite tolerant towards salt spray and gets enough water from the salt spray. Amazing plant. Still, don't smoke it, don't eat it, better don't use it. If science agrees that this stuff is safe to eat, and if they start producing commercial foodstuffs from tobacco which are deemed safe, well, okay, then you can start eating them. For now, stay away from it, folks, please. Apart from that, of course, stay tuned for a lot more fruit videos, hopefully from more edible fruit from the beautiful island of Tenerife. And of course, don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe.